Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Zimdog Tuning. We're back in our Nissan GTR that we were driving around Suzuka a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link up at the top for you to check it out just before we get into this one. As you know, we're in the midst of a bit of a rain challenge. We're not going to be going around Suzuka today, but going around a different track, Homestead. Just because I think it's a really nice venue to get the feel of a car. It's got some different corners, some off-camber ones, some flat ones. You'll see what I mean in a second. This video is all about how we're going to try and set up the car. I'll be releasing the tune at the end of the video, so if you do want to skip to that, then feel free, but it'd be great if you stuck around to find out more about the process of how I went about this. So, join me on board at Homestead, like I said, in the pouring rain. This is on the heavy rain setting. Just driving around trying to get a feel for the car. We've got a dry setup on this car at the minute. You can see it's very oversteery, even just from that first corner. And those oversteer moments are the moments where you lose the most time. So you get on those puddles there, you have to do that immediate correction then. If you're using traction, the traction will bog you down. And then that's a real issue driving in the rain, because nothing can get that momentum back. And you see again another example of that. Driving in the rain, I think, has a few points to sort of work on it. You need good rear stability, which at the minute we don't have on this tune, because in the dry it's all about having quite a fast, nippy, oversteery car a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. But in the wet that changes, because as soon as you lose that rear grip, traction bogs you down and you lose a lot of momentum. You also need a smooth car, so one that isn't darty, I think would be the way I'd describe it. Again, similar philosophy. You need it to be stable, you need it to be smooth. You don't want to be making a lot of corrections in the steering, because the front tyres just aren't going to grip properly, and and if they do, you're going to oversteer on the spot and you're in the same situation again. So we want to set our cars up with a bit more rear stability, and the way we go about it a lot of the time is stiffening the front of the car or softening off the rear of the car. So you're going to turn the camber down a little bit. More camber tends to mean that the car's going to turn a little bit more on the front axle. You see, we're stiffening that front anti-roll and also the front rebound as well. What that does is just give the rear of the car that strength to resist sliding a little bit. Just gives it a little bit more grip, as you're not letting the front of the car sort of grip into the road as much. It's not going to pinch on corner entry. What we're doing with the diff there as well, the Excel diff. If you've watched my sort of Project Vulcan tuning series, I'll put a link up to the first one, the introduction, up above. The Excel diff, when you're on the power, what it does is make, if the higher the value, it makes the wheels turn at different rates. So the outer wheel will turn more, will rotate more, and that will cause the car to turn more. So obviously, if you're in the rain, you don't want that sort of potential for oversteer. So just turning that down a little bit. Just having a look through the rest of the setup here, and likewise on the decel. If you have a higher decel diff value, it means there's more stability under braking until the car starts to slide. So if you have a value of 0 or 1% even, the cars go really wide and into the grass. It's all about finding the limit when you're tuning and testing a car. If you go back to the diff, if you have a low value, the back end of the car, the car's going to rotate under braking a lot. Whereas if you have a high value, it's not. It's going to be very stable. It's not going to turn as much as you necessarily might think it will. So good for in the wet, because we're searching for that stability and that controllability. That tuned in with the aero, the stiffened front end or softened rear end, a combination of those two, a less darty front camber setting. We don't really want to be running any toe in the wet either. We're trying to find a balance here where we've still got the performance of the car. Obviously, we still need to turn the car. We just can't have a straight line unless you're on a drag strip, obviously. We're trying to find that balance between still being able to turn correctly, still being able to turn the right amount for getting the speed around the corners, but it not becoming unstable. And that's sort of the trick of the dry as well. But in the dry, you can get away with those oversteer moments by correcting on throttle and with your steering as well, especially if you're in sim steering. I think what we're starting to get the hang of it on this track. That rear aero is certainly going to help as well. I think probably might add a little bit more because it's feeling a little bit loose still on corner entry. The front end, and again there you see it catch the grass slightly, and the back end's immediately away from me. Knock over that little cone. Avoid the puddle on the inside here as best we can. You always need to have a tune where you can go through just the edge of those puddles maybe, and it not lose traction at the rear end. I mean, a lot of driving in the rain is avoiding those puddles and not going through them, but sometimes you need to. And if you've got a car that you can trust in the rain, that's a massive advantage. If you're following someone who has got a very fast car on the dry, it's quite oversteer, it's a little bit loose, it's got temperamental. In the wet, they're going to have absolutely no confidence, and genuinely, I think confidence is one of the biggest things, because if you can trust your car, you've got confidence in the way that it handles, and you're used to the way it handles, then your speed is going to go through the roof. If you're chasing someone down, you're just going to consistently bleed them for time. And that's what about racing is really, it's consistent speed, and maybe not over a hot lap. You might need something a little bit more edgy, a bit more unstable to try and find that fluky, that perfect lap. But certainly in a race, you need that consistency element. So what do we think we're going to change here? Just coming into the first corner again, we'll keep clipping this grass a little bit. We're starting to get that stability, as you can see. We're gaining time on the Ghost, and we're turning in sort of full lock there, and the back end's not stepping out under load at slow speed anyway. A little bit of a twitch there, a little bit of an off camber corner, but we just need to test that at high speed, and the corner after next is a really good measure for that. So just go around and here to see if we can get quite a smooth, and you're going to flat exit, a little bit of oversteer again, and can we take this one flat? I did turn in at the wrong time there, but I felt like I was losing the back end almost immediately through there. So I think, again, let's go into the setup, and let's change a couple of things. Again, that XL diff, turning it right down. We don't want the car to be oversteering from the rear, and a bit of rear stability in the aero as well. That sort of £25 or so will really change how the car acts. Because of course, you're not going to be travelling as fast in the wet. This isn't a massive circuit to. It's got a couple of straights, like the one we're just coming up to here, but not really. We're not going to be up into sixth gear and ploughing down the Nürburgring straight or down the Mulsanne straight with 125, 130 miles an hour through there. So it's not a huge top speed circuit, and that's the same for Suzuka as well in the wet. You get up to sort of fourth, fifth gear, but we're not really into those margins, those 150s, 170 miles an hour where that aero on the back really starts to make a difference. You want that initial traction, that initial bite on the road, which is what that aero and stability gives you. Again, we go on that grass, and this time you see didn't get that oversteer moment, even though we went through the puddle. On full lock again here, a little bit of curve, and still no step outs. It's looking positive. We're starting to make some progress on the setup, that we're getting the stability, starting to get it in line with our driving style. And see we're 2/10 off the Ghost, brake just after, well, way after the braking line says you need to. Bit of a straighter exit on this one, still on that curve, a little bit of a twitch, but you can see that one. Now, we did go through there flat, but traction just cut in just a tiny little bit there, so I think there's still a little bit more stability we could add into the setup, but so much better than what we were doing before. A couple of stabs at the throttle there in the slower corners. That'll be the D-cell kicking in as used to the car rotating a little bit more under deceleration, under that braking phase. So just something to get used to, really. Again, hesitating on the throttle there and not quite the right line as our Ghost come through. But we're starting to get that stability balance right, I think. It's not quite the ultimate pace, as I get a bit of a penalty going through there. Not quite the ultimate pace in a hot lap, but certainly getting into the swing of things. So let's just run on board for this final lap. seeing across the line. A little bit of penalty on the last sector, but a pretty clean lap before that, and we're into the mid 26s. Go and have a go at that. Also, we'll go through the setup and build now. Obviously, it's an 834, well, 835 build. Can't really get it to 835 appropriately in this class. Go build this up. Try around Suzuka as well. If you haven't seen that hot lap challenge, I'll put the link up above. But you know, it's worth going and try and replicate my 208 or beat it. There's a little bit of a poll out there to see if you think you can go and you know, smash my time. I'd love to know in the comments as well how you get on with things. Can't increase the rim size, no need to really. If you are looking for that bit more stability though, you can look to increase the rims. You need to buy some though. Go through the setup, pretty standard, so it looks like a dry weather setup, if I'm honest. Remember, everything's tailored to each car. Camber's higher on the front than the rear, no toe. We've got high caster, high front anti-rolls. That's really key. You don't want that snappy front end. You want it to be smooth and stable. That theme's replicated throughout the rest of the tune. And we've got that aero on the back. You could even have a little bit more as well, I think, on a lot of circuits. I think if you had any longer straights than what we were dealing with at Homestead though, you probably wouldn't. And that diff that we adjusted. Guys, I hope that was a bit of an insight into how I go about tuning in the wet. Something I do quite a lot of is wet racing, so well accustomed to it. Don't know a lot, too much about the tracks where the puddles are. Tend to stick to a few to sort of set the car up in the wet, ready for series races when they're there. But it's the same themes that you can take through from this into your other tunes. Hope that was helpful. Do subscribe if you want more of this content. Obviously, give the video a like if you did like it. Till next time, guys. Let me in the comments what you thought. I'll see you guys next time.